Are you ready to save our kids? If children are the living messages that we send to a time that we will not see, Save Our Kids is an opportunity for you to be introduced to a few school and student helpers that will support each child's individual journey. If there is a space or a place to improve the lives of our children, we know a few families and business owners who have made it their business to answer the call for help and provide a solution to those quietly discussed challenges that impact our children and eventually us all. We could not just choose one kiddo to save, so we are asking for your help to reach more. Join Keeping Your Kids Safe as we identify some of the problems and share a few solutions that have been created just for you.
Hello, hello. Hello, new friends. How are you today?
Doing good. Thank you very much. It's good to be here.
Yeah, we're good. Yeah, thank you for having us on, Tabitha.
Cool. I'm so glad you're here. I'm so glad. I'm excited to talk to you two. I know we had to delay it a little bit because I was under the weather. So we're gonna move forward because parents still need support regardless of whether we're sick or not. So we're just gonna make sure that we give them bang for their hour. So I always like to start with being able to say thank you. Thank you to all of those teachers and professionals out there doing that, because we always want to make sure we understand that we love our teachers. We love our teachers. We love our administrators. We love the people that are out here helping our children. The purpose of this platform is primarily just to not to bash, not to call anybody out for whatever wrong or right that anyone's doing, but to highlight options and to show appreciation and let you know that you are not alone as you are out there working to teach 49.4 million students that was totally enrolled in 2020 and 2021, with a projected drop to 46.9 million by 2031. So we don't know, we can't solve for anything unless we understand what we're solving for. Excuse me. And we understand that there's 18 million families that'll feed into 90,000 schools in the US, with 4 million teachers supporting those students. First of all, they're outnumbered. And 55% of of the teaching staff want to quit. That's a problem. That's letting us know that there's something going on that we need to address. So today's conversation will be a little around the ones that are labeled slightly different. So we want you to know that 7.3 million children, which is 14.7% of public education in 2021 and 2022, are under an umbrella of disability. With that being said, you'll need to know the breakdown. Autism is 1 in every 36 children, and it affects all ethnic groups and socioeconomic groups. ASD is nearly 4 times more common among boys than girls. That is slightly starting to change. And 1 in 6, with 17% being between 3 and 17. So 6.1 million suffer from ADD and ADHD. So there is, like I said, 6.1 million US students with those diagnoses. Now I have to say, I was very shocked by that, because I noticed when I would go into the front offices, some of them kids were just like super balls, right? And it's because their medication has worn off, and a couple other things that I've learned along the way. So we've brought some people here so that we can have open conversations and dialogue about all the things that are education. So we're going to go ahead, and I'm going to bring Emily up first. Emily's going to give us a little bit about who she is, what she does, and how important what her work is.
So, hi everybody. I'm a virtual assistant, podcast assistant, and I've been doing kind of a lot of stuff behind the scenes with podcasts and other virtual assistant things. But I guess one of the things that I'm a part of is I'm in the Autism Society of South Central Wisconsin, and for the last 5 years, I've been planning a annual adult Adult Autism Conference. And the which has been a good experience. The sort of the goal of the conference is to kind of bridge the communication between the autism/disability community and the non-disability community to bring better communication and to have everybody kind of on the same page, knowing everybody's like strengths and that kind of thing. So we've recently started planning for this yearly conference, which has been in the fall, like the end of October, early November. And so like everybody's welcome to attend. And the first year we had it was an in-person event, but since COVID, we have been having on Zoom. But last year we did have the online part, but also had an in-person part of it the next day. But I think we're looking to kind of have it more of as a hybrid event as well. And so I encourage everybody to join us. We do have a website, integralautism.org. And integral does stand for something. Let me tell you what it is here in a second. So it is interactive networking talks and education for growing autism legitimacy. So it's a little bit about what I've been doing as of late.
I think you're awesome. I think you're awesome. And this is a reason why I was so excited to talk to you. 2 reasons. One is that Kristen, the link is right below her name, integralautism.org. Go there and you'll find the conference. And hi to everybody here. You were extremely important for me to talk to because one of the things in my business, so I have keeping your kids safe. One of the things in my business is that I had decided to add the ability for our neurotypical humans or employees to work with the atypical ones, right? And be able to support them. Because I was really tired of seeing young adults with Down syndrome, autism, ADHD, and all these other things being put in categories with only bagging groceries, only doing the carts, only doing menial things. And I felt like it was an opportunity for us to lean into your strengths versus leaning into the weaknesses that everyone has called out. And when I seen what you were able to do, period, build a conference, motivate and encourage other people to come into this and get a voice, have somebody that was going to be able to support them. I was like, I needed to have you to come and talk to people because I don't know that other people realize that placing young adults in these boxes and categories do not give them an opportunity to be able to go out and successfully participate in this world that we have to live here and be okay. And we're not, and they're making it like, these people will never be able to do. But you and Briley and a few other people that I have, even including my son, has shown us that we have it wrong and you guys have it right. And you're here to teach us something that I didn't think that I was, that, I didn't realize this, how bad it had gotten when I was in a situation. So I'm glad you're here because you're going to be able to show people what's possible. So thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, I mean, we're just like everybody else.
Yes.
It's just that and can do about anything anybody else could do. Even though we may have to be doing something a different way to get to the same goal, but
yep,
it doesn't mean that we can't do it or even if we have to get to the same result in a different way. Doesn't mean we're any different. It's just
Right. I'm with you. I'm here for you. Thank you so much, Emily. This is awesome. All right, then you have your counterpart, Kurt.
yep.
Go ahead, Kurt.
All right. Well, thanks, Tabitha, and thank you, everybody out there, for supporting this program, and Emily for being on this program with me. Emily is very much part of what we do at the Disability Channel. It's founded, headquartered, and operated out of Toronto, Ontario, Canada. So that's why you see the website, thedisabilitychannel.ca. So the sequence of events to put me in this place were quite magnificent for me. So like Tabitha said, you know, the idea of not realizing, you know, how much our mindset could be off or missing, you know, key points as we can better relate and be available to people with disabilities. I guess that's what I personally had a self-introspection. I'm 52 years old, and I tell the story that it wasn't until I entered my 40s before I started to realize the transformational mindset adjustment, you know, that was available to me to stop missing what's available in the disability community. And it's got a little irony to it because 36 years ago, a great group local to me, it's called Adaptive Community Approach Program, serving adults with disabilities. And I had recently served 6 years on the board, and it all started with water skiing. So 36 years ago, I mean, this organization is over 40 years old. And so 36 years ago, they came to our water ski club, and they were really focusing on that. There's something called the sit ski. And they were looking at that as potentially empowering their members, their adults with disabilities, to go out and water ski with us in our water ski club. And back at that time, the leaders of the club obviously went for it. We've been doing it all that time. And what happened over 10 years ago was that I met a gentleman. I kind of followed a little bit loosely what this group was doing in advocacy and some of their events when they went out and gathered. I found opportunity to go visit with them. And this all led me to go to a legislative breakfast. And that's where I met a gentleman who's a self-advocate, a public speaker. And I first met his mom, who founded an organization to serve parents with disabilities for IEPs. You know, basically it was two mothers got together to look at, you know, what you navigate as a mother, a parent, and so forth, guardian, whoever it may be, looking over that, you know, individualized educational plan for a student and the challenges that can be there to make it the correct individualized educational plan. And so this Wisconsin Facets group, you know, has grown strong here in the state of Wisconsin. I'm from Milwaukee. And, you know, so meeting this gentleman really was a turning point because we developed a friendship. And so I ended up sharing my pastime, water skiing, and told him about the water skiing. And you know, with his public speaking, there was some awareness, and with his mother's involvement at agency level, there was some awareness of this agency, and he lived in the same city. He lives in the same city as this agency, Adaptive Community Approach Program. And this started a partnership that became wildly successful, to his credit. He's a gentleman with spastic cerebral palsy, a power wheelchair user. And you can actually go to fox6news.com, fox6news.com. That is a website here in Milwaukee for TV. And you can search Chad Murphy Price on fox6now.com. And what you'll see is some stories of him featured. He's got this flair to reach out to these newscasters and to the television stations. He's not afraid to do that. His mother really supported his ambition to get out there and surprise people with what he's doing, because it's more about him. It was him sharing himself with the public. what a great thing to be able to have that, be done. And one of the videos shows him going 15 feet in the air, tethered to the back of the ski show director at Tommy Bartlett Thrill Show, Sky Stage and Ski Show. And this was just a tremendous journalism by the Milwaukee Television showing, how this all came together and was made possible. So this was all part of a journey where this gentleman and another friend that he met through physical therapy, they both started to, in friendship, start doing things together. So we brought him into this idea of water skiing. And so what happened was these two became demonstrators of adaptive water skiing. And we went to the point of saying, I'm in a water ski show. I perform in front of audiences throughout the summer. And these gentlemen aspired to do as I do. And this became a new thing. If you look at the world of water skiing, it's largely unheard of that you would see people with disabilities in water ski shows. But these gentlemen disrupted that and have set it to be the case. Here in Wisconsin, we are the water ski capital, we are the show ski in terms of show skiing because of the Tommy Bartlett business here in Wisconsin. Tommy Bartlett was very successful going out to a dozen different lakes and so forth and cultivating water ski talent. So show skiing is a big deal for us here in Wisconsin. And we have 33 water ski shows in the state of Wisconsin. And so what we did is we got into all of the events and activities that these performance water skiers do. And we demonstrated adaptive water skiing. And these water skiers took to it to such a great level with the Wisconsin Water Ski Federation that we helped this group more than sextuple the access to the sport of water skiing in 6 years. As part of this journey through the Independent Living Center back in 2014, I started to sit in on planning events for the 25th anniversary at that time for the Americans with Disabilities Act. And it culminated to be that I ended up helping them do a Sunday celebration on July 26, 2015, and I called it Ability Fest. And so what this did for me is, first of all, one of the accomplishments after that is I found out about the Wisconsin Council on Physical Disabilities. And I found out they had vacancy on that council. And one of the seats was appropriate for me to sit on as a provider. And I ended up being vice chair of the Wisconsin Council on Physical Disabilities. And the Ability Fest thing with the agency work, they talk about unmet needs and so these gaps that we have to fill, they're always talking about, we've gone so far, but we've got so far to go and all that stuff. And, I really look to the eventful side of things to say, there's collective impact, there's private-public partnerships. And I look at, as we talk today, I feel that the ultimate way to give this full attention is from 6 directions. I look at our faith communities. I look at our service organizations, volunteer groups. I look at our lifelong learning, including education at our public libraries. I look obviously at understanding more what government is there to do and not to get overzealous about what we're trying to force government to do if the tax dollars aren't there. And then the business community, and then all the fun things we do. Like for me, it's water skiing. And with the endeavors of the time, I happened to, back in 2014, 2015, the Medical College of Wisconsin and the VA and other agencies, there ended up being 60 partners to what is an adaptive sports expo. And to me, that was a marvelous experience to see 60 groups that are devoted to help people with disabilities experience what they want to do, for therapeutic recreation, to have fun and to get out there and just do things that are good for them and good for everybody. Because we always hear these reports that when you're volunteering for these programs, These are the programs that help me get the insights to the day and the life of someone with a disability. And then that chance where I finally in my life was opening up my mind to be open to saying, what can I do to be more available? And to me, that's key. So again, we think of our faith life, service life, our lifelong learning, our civic capacity, what we do for work, and all the fun things we do. And we ask ourselves, what have you done? What are you doing now? Or what will you be doing today? And I like to say with a professional with a disability, because the weakest area of inclusion and helping people with disabilities be in their rightful place is business. The business community, the commercial sector, industry, there's just like a gaping hole. It's only at like 3% where it should be. We can go 33 times greater to bring this forth. And that's why I'm in the television industry. That's why I'm involving radio. That's why I like being on shows like this, because we have to have this conversation at a large magnitude, like our politics. This is a political year, isn't it? And so that's one thing I want to pay attention to is what are our politicians saying to the respect and to the growth of what we do for our Americans with disabilities. And with media, I talk about that there's a falsely claimed mainstream media. Now, in decades past, there's been a lot of strides seeing people with disabilities in film and on TV and, a lot of growth. But again, we got so far to go. And the founder of the Disability Channel, Jay Stoyan, I mean, it was something where they had me at hello when I learned about the Disability Channel 4 years ago, because I thought I had to create it. I was thinking of Ability TV and all that. When I found the Disability Channel, I'm like, oh, I can just hop on the bandwagon and away we go. But the idea is the Disability Channel is television by and with people with disabilities and veterans, actually, because the veteran community is another thing. And in terms of children and so forth, we look at making sure that veterans and their families are supported, because something that a veteran is going through can be a dynamic in the house for the children in that house and can carry off to other things that child does. And so it's been an interesting journey for me. And thanks, Tabitha, for letting me share. So where do you want to go from here?
I know. So you did a really good job. I like this. And now you're encouraging me. I can kind of see myself as actually going to evaluate the Disability Channel to see if there's something that I can do to add value or be a part of that. Because I do believe that, you're right. The point of entry, that weakest point of entry, that's where we need to work on. And it's our responsibility, right? It's not the responsibility of let's wait and see what someone else comes up with. So I'm just glad you're here so we can have this conversation. Okay, so friends, I just want to make sure that we give a special thanks to our friends at Helpopedia. If you do not know anyone over there, you might want to go ahead and scan that QR code and connect with Helpopedia. These two lovely people are actually from that community. They are actually here to help support parents and students in various areas of their development as far as colleges and school. I also wanted to make sure that I ask that if you can go ahead and please like and subscribe to the channel, so then that way you'll have the new updated videos. Today is just one of those days. We're just going to go with it. So my name is Tabitha Barron, and I am the founder of Change, Keeping Your Kids Safe. I developed a program that actually allows each child to effectively communicate their way home to and from school while parents are a part of the arrival and dismissal process. Why is that important? Because we can't all do it alone. And we said at the top of the hour that you have 49.4 million children that are feeding into 90,000 schools, which means, and there's only 90,000, what did I say? There's 4 million teachers. They're outnumbered. So it's time, we need to be a part of the solution, and being able to invite the parents into the dismissal process helps to minimize the opportunity of a predator picking up your child and either offering them up into trafficking or taking them and doing other nefarious things with them. So that's what I'm about. But here, I'm so excited about that. Just please like and follow us on the channel, and just keep in mind that we have a community of people that we're working with. in order to help and support. So I'm going to open up the conversation now. Let's see if I can make this work right. And ask, what is one of the things that that we could do differently when it comes to handling or engaging with people that are considered with a disability? How do we approach people, or how do we get to where their strengths are, and how do we use what can you teach us? Because I know for me, I know what I do, but I'd like to hear it from Emily and Kurt. What is something that's important that we should want to look to change or look to improve as far as education and how we engage with people that are considered disabled? I just say differently, with different abilities. I like that better.
Yeah. So for me, the thing that I learned, more so in the last decade than previous decades of my life is the agencies and the nonprofits that serve people with disabilities, and this national mantra, which is worldwide too, the idea of self-determination. So I learned about the history of, even at the agency level, where if you go back some decades, we were in a situation where councils and so forth that were, advising administration and so forth how to, carve the future for disability services, didn't have as much people with disabilities on those councils. So in the recent decades, that became more so the case. That became a concerted effort in constructing these councils and these elements where the issues are being discussed. And the battle cry that the advocates always use is nothing about us without us. So again, self-determination is that when we approach someone with a disability, it's like we're in a double opt-in society. I've been knowing that for some decades too, that like even in a business sense or whatever, it's like it's a lot of permissive interaction. And to me, I think in the realm of people with disabilities, that was the shift I made, is to say when you're with an individual with a disability, it's like they have their life figured out. Someone with a disability lives with their disability and just being who they are. Like, let's get beyond the fact that they have a disability profile, that they're just who they are. So let's just interact that way to say, if you have an idea about how you can help, to me, I've kind of framed it where it's just a check-in to just share your idea. Like, hey, I'm perfectly willing to, like say, open the door for you. I'm perfectly willing to help you on this phone call. Is that something that helps you? And then to allow that situation where you're just looking for guidance to see if there is a role for you, or if it's like, thanks for the thought, but no thanks, by that person with a disability. That's like with the programs I do with water skiing or adaptive sports and rec. We train our volunteers to be ready to serve that diverse ability athlete in many ways and have predictable success because we know what to do as a volunteer. But the thing we had to be taught, I remember one of the programs, one of the diverse ability athletes said, hey, you volunteers are so great. You like are showing how much you know, and like, hey, let's do this, next step. And it's like that participant said, hey, let's wait a minute. I think I know how things work in my life. I got a pretty good idea how I'm going to do this too. Let's have the volunteers check in and to be ready to take direction from the person with a disability, I guess is what it amounts to. And I think everyday life, is that way. Let that person with a disability lead the situation and just be available and ask if that's helpful or not. Right.
I think that's good. That's a very good point, that we have to ask the question because they know their limitations just as well as we know our own. And it's better to ask than to assume, because assumptions get us in a whole world of trouble. So, Emily, I'd like to ask you, from high school, and I think you've been out of school for a little bit of time. You look very young, but I'm just saying. But when you came out of high school and went into the world of adulthood, Do you feel as though school prepared you for what was coming up? Or do you feel as though we could have done better about educating you enough to get out there and do things and support yourself? You're on mute, ma'am.
Uh, uh, I'm not sure. I mean, I guess there is always room for improvement. But I guess, but sort of going off of, so if I'm going off in a different direction here, but sort of going off of what Kurt was saying, to like follow up with the person I made. Where was I going? I mean, so when you meet like a person with autism, you've met one person with autism. It's not like each person with autism is different. So it's not like every single person with autism has like the same things going on, that kind of thing. If that makes any sense.
So to treat everybody, don't treat everybody like one bag. You treat them individually based on their ability to do or not to do.
Right.
Schools can be better about doing that, being more inclusive. But how can we improve on how to? What are some of the things that you wish you would have learned or somebody would have helped you with that would have helped you in your adulthood?
To think.
I know I'll put you on a spot. I can help you out with some of them, but I don't know you specifically. For me, I did financial literacy with my son, but he didn't take. It didn't always take, but because there's always two different sides. Okay, let's just be really honest. I had a teacher tell my son that not to believe anything I said, not to sign any paperwork I provided him, and that I was out to do harm to him. That has cost me a lot of years behind that. Teachers need to. So I believe that in general, we have parent one is home, parent two is school, and the community is the bonus parent. I'm gonna mute you, Emily. So I believe that wholeheartedly because that becomes a healthy child. But what I don't agree with is, see, those type of co-parenting bad behaviors actually do more harm to home than they do to school. Because school has them for, as we've identified, school has them for 1,200 and what did I tell you? I said this number is really crazy. It's 1,260 hours a year. Your child is out of home and in with the school with 1,260 hours per year, and that's not including the travel time. And in the work week, like a parent's work week, if they went at it, they're like 2,080. So there's a lot of time that they're away from your child. And to have your co-parenting partner tell your child that not to trust parent number one, that is a disservice that has harmed me and will continue to harm him for the rest of his life. Those are the type of behaviors I would like to see not exist or not have the ability to take root, So that's why I'm asking a question as far as that's concerned. But go ahead, Kurt.
Yeah, I'm glad you're speaking to this area about, parents of, children with disabilities and so forth, because I was able to serve half a dozen years ago or so. I was on a board for a ministry group that their ministry took a concerted effort to be there for parents and guardians and those that are, responsible for children with disabilities. And, what it got me thinking is that, to me, when you look at community and society and entities like schools and churches and libraries and, these public spaces and, just the conduct of people in the population and so forth, there's so much out there that, leaves a little bit to be desired, I might say. And I came into it identifying with that. I was ultimately taught some of these tendencies. And like I say, just in terms of not being as available to these elements, it's kind of like you have an interaction with someone with a disability and it's just kind of a one-off. And it was like, great to meet you. And then psychologically, I just realized, you know what? I never was drawn to think of how soon am I going to see that person again. It was like I saw him today, and then it was like if I never saw him again, that's just kind of, how life works. And so I came up with a mantra that really in the US, and I really think pretty close worldwide, it's like 1 in 4 people are identified as being a part of the disability community, right? So that makes a ratio of 3 to 1. So I think to like really, I'm going to say compensate, not for the person with a disability or not for the parents or anything within a family unit. It's to compensate when we go out of our homes and how segregation is actually alive and well out there in our public elements. And so this is about building that bridge between, kind of what that family is striving for from home. And then you leave the home and it's like challenges. And how do we work that? There needs to be a support structure of 3 to 1 to kind of, be available with human resource, because respite is a big thing because of how challenging it is to compensate again for society, not for the individual. Because the disability community taught me so many things about universal design, global public inclusive infrastructure, and so forth. So I tell people my commercial is, going in Orlando, Florida, and going to Disney World and going to Epcot. Now, Epcot stands for Experimental Prototype Community of Tomorrow. And when you look at even Epcot, how much are they addressing this specific conversation we're having today? It's there, but, not as directly as I'm looking for. So my commercial is taking that graphic of the globe there at Epcot and blowing it up and coming back in and saying, to finally build that strong relationship with the disability community is where we're at, to look at web content accessibility guidelines. I mean, the practice of it all is already perfected. There's professionals teaching this every day around the world. I went to ADA center trainings you can attend over the web and so forth to learn the intricacies of the Americans with Disabilities Act. It's interesting to dive into the law and see how everything is all set up. You hear about ADA, and you just kind of figure that's for attorneys and so forth. But to actually attend as a community member, it's open to community members. Our society isn't wired this way. Like, why would just a general person, someone like myself, who I don't have a family member with a disability or whatever, that's what I was getting a lot in the last 10 years. Why, Kurt? What draws you? Does your daughter have a disability? Does your wife? You have a disability we don't know about? Like, where's the connection? I'm like, it's just being a part of society. It's closing this gap. And I never thought that way either again until I entered my 40s. But this is the mantra I'm trying to drive, that this is an all hands on deck initiative. As far as the Americans with Disabilities Act, I point out that if it wasn't for our veterans, I hope America could come to identify that if it wasn't for our veterans, we would not have the Americans with Disabilities Act. We've had for a couple decades here, a piece of legislation called the Disability Integration Act. Our country is not able to pass that right now, which is just mind-boggling to me. If it's not written correctly, I would hope our legislators could make the corrections needed and get something that's appropriate, which would be our Disability Integration Act. Because to lean on what we did back in 1990, I don't think it's appropriate. When I talked to one of my senators up here in Wisconsin, he says, well, Kurt, if you're talking to other people around the world and they want to know how to do this, just have them look at the Americans with Disabilities Act. That tells me I have representation that is completely happy to just have decades old legislation and just let it ride. We're not looking to evolve and to keep the process going. So at all levels, we need to look at this. And that's why I want to promote, what are we doing to carve a future where more and more people with disabilities are running countries, holding more positions in Congress, being expected that we would have people with disabilities up there when we're having presidential debates. Like, it should be all the time that there's a candidate with a disability running for the highest office in the land, stuff like this. But we're not there yet. And to bear it down to the parents, I think people erroneously dismiss, including myself, that, that's their problem. They got to take care of their kid. I don't need to take care of that kid or whatever. And it's not like a sympathy thing. It's just to realize, like, in terms of integration, like with my daughter is a high schooler, and I describe how we got a decent thing going in our public education as far as integration. But I'm like, when she comes home on the bus, she's back in this, segregative fashion community. And that's why I say I want the 6 areas of life to all come together and to have events and so forth to demonstrate this. Like having drama productions by people with disabilities, and to have artists with disabilities and so forth. That's all part of my Ability Fest mantra. Musicians with disabilities performing. Emily and I are working with an entity out of Denver, Colorado called Shine, and they hold an annual event called Shine Music Festival, and their brand is Shine Music. And the founder of that looked at, when you go to concerts and you have the ADA sections, she's like, that's like putting people in cages, that people with disabilities have to be in that limited square footage. And then the rest of the public, she's like, you're lacking that social interaction between people with disabilities and people who, aren't tied, to that individual with the disability. We need to get more in integration, where it's like that 3-to-1 ratio we have. We're seeing that out in our hospitality centers, in our hotels, on airplanes, out on sports fields, whatever it is. We got to keep drawing this together and keep closing the gap between people with disabilities and people that don't. And again, I bring it back to, the irrational capacity that we leave for parents with disabilities. It's just unrealistic.
Very much so. And I'm glad you said that, because segregation still exists. So, Ollie, yes, you are correct. Who is setting these parameters for who's disabled and who's not? It's just a different ability. So I like the fact that you were like a diverse ability. That's definitely different, because ones who cannot do anything at all and they're 100%, reliant on another individual, that's definitely a disability. And that's definitely something now that family has the responsibility of taking care of that person, from the beginning until, right? But the bottom line is that the segregation continues. So as much as people like to say, we don't have segregation doesn't exist. We've done away with that. I call BS. Every chance you get, you sort people. Every single time, every position we go into, every place we go, you got to go this way, you got to go that way. You'll have the deaf community will have to go into one area so that they can have one person that will sign for them. However, if you have a person on the stage, that deaf community can sit anywhere they want, because they can see the person signing for them, right? You have autism days, or you have days where people on the spectrum will be able to go to a park or to a play or something like that and not be disturbed. But here's the thing. Bullying continues to happen because we do not prepare people to engage with someone who is different from them. And the minute we start to separate, we automatically add a hierarchy to the space. And we don't realize that we're doing it, or maybe some of us do. But the minute you say this person has this label, and therefore this label says that they can't do A, B, C, D, or E, So you can do the entire alphabet. So you're going to be different. And now you've set that hierarchy to automatically put in the opportunity to exclude. Absolutely. Orly, Ollie, to exclude. And this has got to stop. We are responsible for this. Our children should be able to walk up to anybody. I just seen a video actually before I got on, and it was a store. The lady was in a store. The mom was in a store, and there was a black woman that was standing at the same counter type where they were looking at what they were going to pick up. And the little boy walked up to his mom and said, "Look at her." And the mom just turned and looked, and she looked away. She was like too embarrassed to look at the woman, right? And the woman didn't know how the boy was going to respond. And his next words was, "How beautiful, how pretty is she?" And that changed the whole entire dynamic. So whatever that mom was doing at home actually allowed that boy to see the beauty in someone who was different, something that wasn't this what he was used to seeing. And I think that once we start to normalize or let people know humans are humans regardless of ability, then and only then will we'll be able to overcome a lot of the separatism that we're actually incorporating in our everyday living.
Yeah, I'd like to point out with Emily here, I have to admit that if Emily would have met me 15 years ago, she would not be here. I was not in the right frame of mind to see what Emily can do. The disability community essentially taught me what Emily can do, and she's here today because I was taught to open the door, to open the possibility, to practice the art of allowing, to allow Emily to tell me a little bit more what she wants to do and how, and to get to this point where she professes herself as a podcast engineer and a virtual assistant. And she's doing a lot of stuff that she wants to do because, I kind of re-geared myself to find out a little exploratory about Emily. When I met Emily, she was, just open to the world, just like in this conversation here, just, very, just very much going with the flow. And now if you could see what Emily is doing today with all of her structures, working the Google calendars and sending emails, she'll talk to CEOs, no problem. Like she'll just talk to the top guy in the company. Not a big deal. It's just what she does. She's a VA. She does communications. No big deal. To me, this is the example that there's many more examples out there. I mean, just look on YouTube, go out there. They're out there. Like I say, it's just 3% of where it could be. I mean, this is an idea of, are we going to people with disabilities and asking them what their goals and dreams are? Like if the world were perfect and we could help you do whatever it is you want to do, which is what we should be doing all across the world with 8 billion people, everybody should be asked this. What essentially is it that you would like to do in this world, and how can we help you get there? To me, with a human resource of 8 billion people on the planet, to me, I really believe that these things are possible. And this is the type of global conversation that I'm looking to be a part of driving. And I recognize that there's a lot of great groups and networks out there doing just marvelous things. And with today's technology, do you know that there's 11 million video calls like this going off every day in the USA? Just the USA, 11 million every day in the USA video calls in the United States of America. So that means that there's high connectivity. But we are able to have these conversations and to articulate things and to have things in a mode that works for everybody. When we look at the disability community, the conversation starter for me is people with intellectual and developmental disabilities, the deaf community, blind community, people with physical disabilities, people living in chronic pain, those with a mental health diagnosis, or let's just get into the whole field of mental health, and then everyone with a goal is substance use reduction. So when we're talking about, our kids, obviously substance use is present in our kids. And we have the issues of like human trafficking and stuff like that. I was amazed to learn that actually people with disabilities are pretty good at trafficking, because the benefits they receive, the criminals actually go after people with disabilities to end up with that disability agency check. They want money so bad, they'll actually do that. So to me, we are at a point in time where, if you look at the idea of slavery, slavery is at an all-time high in the world, with human trafficking and everything. I mean, we learn about, like in the USA, about this history of emancipation and stuff like that. And, at least in terms of education of my day, it's kind of like, this is behind us as far as the textbooks, but no, it's worse than it's ever been in the world we live in today. So we have a population of people that we all need to heal at all levels. And that's why, to me, I'm really trying to get out there and do check-ins on all fronts, with faith communities, the service arenas, the educational area, government work, businesses, and all the fun things we do and so forth, to find out, as people do whatever they're doing in life, how are we bringing people together? Unity, happiness, peace, love, and joy. How are we making these experiences of life more prevalent? And as we do it, to check in to say, how are we doing, including and involving and letting people with disabilities lead the cause? It's interesting to learn with the Americans with Disabilities Act, who's protected. There's chemical sensitivity, I should say. And, so like when you go into independent living centers, they ask you not to wear your perfumes and to watch what you're using for deodorants and so forth, because that may preclude somebody from participating because they can't tolerate the chemicals in some of these products. So there's opportunity to improve what we're doing in many, many ways. It just takes an appetite to do it.
This is true, and I'm glad you bring this up. So that's why I knew when I met Emily a while ago, and I have to say, I've always been the same my whole entire life. Anybody who was different, I didn't really care. As long as you're nice to me, we're fine. We can be friends, right? And so we just kind of move with it. But then you can't do that. If I take you on the left side, will you do the right side? They say yes. I say, okay, let's go, right? And so we move. Emily is showing me that she validated that the structure I was creating for my business to help other young adults and adults with diverse abilities. She validated that it was the right thing to do. So she's helping me more with patience, because the world is trying to force us to run. But not everybody can run at the same speed. So it would be nice for us not to rush to get to the end, but enjoy the journey and the process. And so I love the fact that Emily's here, because she's able to say, I'm creating this and I have all of this work. And she is highly capable and very motivated. And she is a prime example of what is possible when we have the right community around us and have the patience and the tolerance to deal with it. And I'm not talking, Emily, I'm not talking about you as if you're not here. I'm talking to you because I thank you. I thank you for doing what you're doing, because you're going to show a lot of other people what is possible outside of what they have labeled you. Sharon was on here too. Sharon has CP. I'm like, how do you get that she's in a wheelchair so she can't learn? How did that equate? Where do we get that crap from, right? So Sharon shows you she has multiple degrees and is able to go out and help other people. I have a son who he is like the butterfly. He pollinates anything and everything that moves. He's a very social person. He moves around and he does things, and he's friendly, and he's a big old teddy bear. But that doesn't mean that he just has differences that make it harder. But he's very capable, very, very capable. I'm so tired of people telling all of the people with different abilities that this is not the room for you. Go here, go there. Ollie says that he's blind in one eye. He's not as willing to accept their label for disability because he's still capable. So I thank anybody and everybody who's stepping out here and saying, no, I do not accept your label. I do not accept how you're gonna label me. I'm going to go out and accomplish whatever I'm going to accomplish with or without you, one, and I'm going to do it on my timeline, not yours. Because rushing to it will have rushing to it gets you doors removed from. Those were able-bodied people that were putting doors on the airplanes that flew off, right? You have the covers on the airplanes where you got wheels falling off the airplanes, you got things coming off the motors. Those are able-bodied people. And if those able-bodied people were making those type of mistakes that can kill a lot of people at one time, we can take a little bit more extra time to work with somebody with a different ability to accomplish what we want to accomplish. So I'm going to go ahead and give you two the opportunity to say a little bit, remind people, where you want to be contacted and things like that. I thank you very much for your time today. And you go ahead and let people know about you so that we can, we're going to go ahead and close out. So I guess we'll start with Emily. You want to start?
So everybody can get a hold of me either through my social media, so either through like LinkedIn or at my email, my first and last name, the digit 1 at gmail.com. So those are probably the two best ways to get hold of me.
Thank you for being here, Emily. You're amazing. Okay.
There you go. Yeah, you can reach me by calling and or texting 262-372-1SKI. That's 262-372-1754. And you can email me, Kurt, K-U-R-T, at projectdiehard.org. And I just want to make a quick comment about when we're talking about people with disabilities and this word disability and identifying with that. My assessment is that it's really government programs and the medical field, that there are these, places where we need to make sure that we are doing this functional assessment where we know if people have disabilities. Short of those couple or few, arenas, there really is no necessity to the idea, of disability. And so aside from government programs and qualifying for disability programs, the other side of it is we're simply, 8 billion people around the planet, and we all have our own strengths and, just ways we do things differently, and, things that are between us and the rest of the world that people need to adjust to us for who we are, so there's that, level playing field when you really think about it. Tabitha, back to you.
I love that. Thank you so much. And as always, we're always here, unless I get sick. And we're always here every Tuesday at 12 Central for a conversation about Save Our Kids. There's a lot of things we want to talk about. We also want to let you know we always love our teachers, as long as our co-parenting relationship is a good one. We just love that. I also want to make sure that we go ahead and thank Helpopedia for coming out and making sure that they have spent the time with us, and they're always supportive of us. Although this is Autism Awareness Month, please understand autism is 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days out of the year. So please be aware that just because we're bringing awareness to you for this month does not mean that parents do not need your support for the rest of the year. So keep that in mind. I just want to say that I did have an opportunity to go to a school, Quality Education Academy. I recommend that anybody will go there and donate to the school so that they can help support them in their quest to continue to educate our children. So until next time, thank everybody for everyone attending. Ollie, you're awesome. I think you and I need to have a conversation. Thanks, Sharon and Brandy and Kristen and Christine and Sendall for coming to visit us today. You had a choice and you chose to spend your hour with us. So thank you very much for everything. Until next time, words are power. Please remember to use them wisely.
Thank you for your time today. We appreciate the support and look forward to you visiting us again next week. Same time, same place. Until then, words are power. Please remember to use them wisely. If you have an interest, like to be on our live show, please let us know and send us a direct message.